What if a simple cleaning job turned into a time-traveling adventure? Meet Jamal, a modern-day jokester who accidentally lands in the world of medieval knights, scheming kings, and fierce rebellion. From laugh-out-loud moments to epic sword fights, Jamal's wild journey will leave you wondering, can one man out of time become a legend? Stay tuned, you won't believe where this story ends. In a Los Angeles attraction called Medieval World, Jamal, an employee reprimanded for backtalking his boss, is assigned the unenviable task of cleaning a ditch. While on the job, he and a colleague can't resist horsing around with some swords, fantasizing about leaving for Castle World, the soon-to-open rival theme park that promises superior experiences. During their antics, Jamal spots a shimmering medallion submerged in the ditch. Hoping it's valuable, he reaches for it, but as he touches it, the medallion begins to glow intensely, yanking him into the water. When Jamal resurfaces, he's in a strange lake surrounded by unfamiliar scenery. He swims to shore, where he encounters a drunken man named Nolt. Assuming he's stumbled into Castle World, Jamal is baffled by Nolt's medieval garb. As Nolt collapses unconscious, Jamal notices the man isn't breathing. He prepares to perform CPR, but is repulsed by the rancid odor of Nolt's breath. Instead, Jamal sprays breath freshener, miraculously reviving Nolt, who believes Jamal saved his life. Grateful, Nolt brings Jamal to his camp, a grimy and run-down place. Jamal is disgusted, jokingly calling the food forbidden. Nolt confesses his outcast status, blamed for failing the queen, but Jamal dismisses the story, mockingly handing him $2. Nolt angrily burns the money. Determined to find his way back, Jamal ventures through the woods searching for a highway, only to stumble upon a farm. His trek is interrupted by a group of knights led by Sir Percival, who nearly trample him with their horses. Frustrated, Jamal tries to confront them, but follows them instead to a grand fortress. Assuming it must be Castle World, Jamal attempts to enter, but guards demand his identity. He claims to hail from Florence and Normandy, referencing an LA intersection. Misinterpreting this as a legitimate claim to a Norman messenger, the guards escort him inside, where the king has been expecting news from Normandy. Inside the fortress, Jamal encounters a bustling and pungent marketplace, including a puppet show about the Black Knight. Amid the chaos, his attention is drawn to Victoria, a striking chambermaid. Jamal awkwardly flirts with her, but his modern slang confuses her. However, when he requests paper and a number, Victoria is amazed at his literacy. Before their interaction can continue, Sir Percival arrives, behaving inappropriately toward the women, including Victoria. Jamal confronts him, prompting Percival to draw his sword. Jamal assumes it's all part of a theme park act and remains unimpressed until the Chamberlain Philip intervenes to summon Jamal before King Leo. In the throne room, King Leo and Princess Regina greet Jamal. The king inquires about the arrival of the Duke of Normandy, Regina's fiancé, in an arranged marriage. Playing along with what he thinks is an improv routine, Jamal replies Tuesday, which pleases the king but irritates Regina, who despises the arrangement. Jamal is promised a return trip to town after some rest. Philip gives Jamal a tour of the castle, but the medieval privy disgusts him, and he refuses to use it. Soon, a crowd gathers to witness a rebel leader's sentencing. Assuming it's a staged performance, Jamal watches in fascination, even grabbing the severed head, believing it's a prop, until he realizes it's real and faints. Jamal awakens in his quarters, cared for by Victoria. She explains that it's the year 1328, confirming Jamal has somehow traveled back in time. Before he can process this revelation, Victoria removes a medallion from her dress, revealing it to be identical to Jamal's. She explains that the medallion symbolizes the rebellion against King Leo, who seized the throne unlawfully. Victoria urges Jamal to join the cause, but he's terrified by the mention of the impaled heads of previous rebels. Philip interrupts to announce Jamal's ride, which turns out to be a horse instead of a car. Having never ridden a horse, Jamal struggles, falling repeatedly, much to the amusement of onlookers. The king, mistaking Jamal's clumsiness for comedic brilliance, invites him to ride alongside. Later, at the castle banquet, Jamal must endure the king's uncouth dining habits while pretending to enjoy himself to avoid suspicion. When the king demands Jamal dance, he embarrasses himself trying traditional moves, but quickly shifts gears, teaching the court musicians a modern beat. What starts awkwardly becomes a lively, unexpected celebration, with everyone joining in on Jamal's impromptu routine. Amidst a lively celebration on the castle's dance floor, Victoria discreetly hands two servants some bread while the music energizes the crowd. King Leo, caught up in the revelry, joins the dancing. Seizing the opportunity, Princess Regina boldly pulls Jamal aside and kisses him, but their moment is interrupted when Sir Percival notices and furiously vows to end Jamal for his perceived indiscretion. Jamal flees to the balcony, narrowly evading Percival. Meanwhile, the two servants approach the distracted king, bread in hand, concealing their weapons. As they lunge to strike, Jamal, in a desperate attempt to escape Percival, uses a nearby curtain to swing down from the balcony. He accidentally collides with Leo, knocking him out of harm's way and thwarting the assassination attempt. The guards immediately arrest the would-be life-taker. Grateful, Leo chastises Percival for failing to protect him and hails Jamal as a hero. In a dramatic gesture, he rewards Jamal with the title of Lord, 60 hectares of land, and a promise of unlimited female companionship. The following morning, Jamal strides into court brimming with confidence, suggesting innovative ideas such as trendy cafes and fast food joints with stylishly dressed staff. Later, he reluctantly faces Percival in a game of chess. Percival cryptically remarks that sacrificing the queen can be necessary for the kingdom's survival, a statement that raises Jamal's suspicions. Jamal is soon called to oversee a case of theft, a man caught pilfering a turnip for his starving family. To Jamal's horror, Leo demands the man be unalived. Trying to maintain his facade, Jamal loudly berates the thief but secretly spares him, slipping him some coins and sending him away. That evening, Leo, staying true to his reward, sends a disrobed Victoria to Jamal's chambers. Although Jamal had requested her, his intent was to speak privately. Pretending to engage in romantic antics to mislead the guards, he confides in Victoria about his plan to escape before the real messenger from Normandy arrives. Victoria, however, urges him to use his newfound influence to aid the rebels, but Jamal hesitates, declaring himself unsuited for the role. Disappointed, Victoria storms out, vowing not to speak to him again. Later that night, Jamal is surprised when a woman slips into his bed. Mistaking her for Victoria, he embraces the encounter. The next morning, chaos erupts as the real messenger arrives, exposing Jamal as an imposter. To everyone's shock, Leo and Percival find Jamal in bed, not with Victoria, but with Regina. The messenger declares the Duke will no longer marry her, citing her compromised chastity. Enraged, Leo orders Jamal's sentencing. Imprisoned in the dungeon, Jamal encounters the two captured assassins from the banquet. Initially bitter toward him for ruining their mission, they admit their admiration for his accidental sabotage of Leo's alliance with Normandy, which has weakened the king's position. They share the legend of the Black Knight, a rebel who stood for justice, even surviving a dragon by cutting his way out of its belly and gaining the power to breathe fire. Dragged to the sentencing block, Jamal desperately claims to be a sorcerer. Attempting to awe the crowd, he produces a lighter, but the unimpressed onlookers already know fire. As the executioner prepares the final blow, he chokes on an apple. Acting quickly, Jamal performs the Heimlich maneuver, saving his life and convincing the crowd it was magic. The villagers panic when Jamal declares he can summon the sun from the sky. Coincidentally, a flaming arrow strikes Leo's tent, further fueling the chaos. In the ensuing turmoil, Percival orders guards to capture Jamal. However, a mysterious archer rains fiery arrows upon the castle, creating enough confusion for Victoria to smuggle Jamal and the assassins onto a cart. Unfortunately, Jamal falls off during the escape and guards close in. Just as all seems lost, the archer, revealed to be Nolt, rescues Jamal and takes him to the rebel camp. Nolt explains he repaid his debt to Jamal for saving his life and now considers them even. While Victoria pleads for Jamal's help, Nolt, burdened by guilt for failing the previous king, refuses to stay. Jamal invites Victoria to join him in the modern world, promising her a better life, but she declines, choosing to fight for her people. At the lake where his journey began, Jamal hesitates to leave. Meanwhile, Percival's men ambush Nolt at his camp, fighting him and defiling his flask. Just as Nolt is about to retrieve it, Jamal intervenes. Using a mix of modern boxing and comical moves, he fights off the attackers, but they soon overpower him. Motivated by friendship, Nolt finally steps in, easily defeating the men and making one of them to eat dung. Afterward, Jamal teaches Nolt to high-five, solidifying their bond. When they return to the rebel camp, they find it in ruins, with Victoria captured. Jamal rallies the demoralized rebels to rescue her, with only Nolt initially volunteering. The queen, presumed lost, emerges, relieved to see Nolt alive. Inspired by her presence, Jamal delivers a stirring speech and convinces the rebels to rise against Leo. The rebels undergo rigorous training, adopting modern tactics like American football and wrestling under Jamal's guidance, while Nolt hones their swordsmanship. Prepared for battle, Jamal gifts Nolt sneakers for agility, and in return, Nolt gives Jamal knightly armor, which Jamal customizes with a modern flair, readying himself for the fight of his life. The next morning, the rebels march toward the castle, filled with determination to reclaim the kingdom. However, upon arrival, they are surprised to find the gates wide open and the surroundings eerily quiet. Suspicious but eager, they proceed cautiously, only to fall into a well-laid trap. Sir Percival and his soldiers spring out from hiding, surrounding the rebels and launching an ambush. Chaos erupts as the two sides clash, swords clanging and arrows flying, leading to heavy casualties on both sides. Suddenly, a figure clad in black armor emerges, flames erupting from its helmet. The sight terrifies Percival's soldiers, who scatter in fear, believing they face the legendary Black Knight. But their terror turns to confusion when the figure tumbles off its horse, revealing Jamal underneath the fiery facade. Taking advantage of the distraction, Percival charges toward Jamal, sword raised. Before the blow can land, Nolt intercepts, engaging Percival in a fierce one-on-one duel. Meanwhile, Jamal rallies the rebels, utilizing the unconventional tactics he taught them during training. Together, they create a unified front, gradually turning the tide of the battle. As the rebel forces gain the upper hand, Percival retreats to the castle's upper walls, where he finds King Leo cowering and pleading for help. Disgusted and fed up with Leo's incompetence, Percival coldly hurls the king over the edge, sending him into the ditch below. Back on the battlefield, Jamal and Nolt continue to eliminate soldiers. Nolt even humorously employs some of Jamal's modern techniques, proving surprisingly effective. Just as victory seems within reach, Percival fires a hidden arrow that touched Nolt squarely in the chest, causing him to collapse. Gasping for breath, Nolt hands his sword to Jamal, urging him to carry on the fight. Fueled by rage, Jamal ascends the castle walls and confronts Percival, only to find him holding Victoria hostage. Jamal hesitates, lowering his weapon, but Victoria seizes her chance and breaks free from Percival's grasp, sustaining a shallow wound on her neck in the process. Enraged, Percival engages Jamal in a duel, quickly gaining the upper hand and disarming him. However, Jamal refuses to back down. Summoning his ingenuity, he tackles Percival to the ground and scrambles to retrieve his sword. Using a mix of baseball swings and golf strokes, Jamal overpowered Percival. As Jamal rushes to free Victoria, Percival reveals he was feigning defeat and lunges at Jamal. But before he can strike, an arrow pierces his chest, ending him for good. Jamal looks down to see Nolt, battered but alive, holding the bow. With Percival defeated, the rebels emerge victorious and celebrate their triumph in honor of the queen. Days later, Jamal convinces Victoria to accompany him back to Los Angeles, and the two share a heartfelt kiss. The Queen offers Jamal a position as the kingdom's permanent protector, but he declines. Instead, she bestows upon him the honorary title of the Black Knight during a grand ceremony. Midway through the celebration, Jamal feels lightheaded and suddenly awakens back in modern-day Los Angeles. Paramedics hover over him, explaining he had been underwater for nearly 10 minutes. His coworker, relieved but opportunistic, suggests suing the park for damages. Jamal, however, dismisses the idea, opting to share his ideas to help the park thrive instead. 6 weeks later, Medieval World becomes a hit attraction thanks to Jamal's creative innovations. As he helps children in the batting cages, a woman approaches to thank him. She introduces herself as Nicole, and Jamal immediately notices her uncanny resemblance to Victoria. Both feel a strange familiarity and agree to meet for lunch. As Nicole and her nephew leave the park, Jamal realizes he forgot to get her number. He rushes after her, only to slip and tumble back into the ditch. This time, when Jamal gets up, he finds himself standing in an ancient Roman Colosseum surrounded by a roaring crowd. To his horror, ferocious lions are released into the arena, and he has no choice but to run for his life. And just when you think Jamal's adventure is over, the universe has other plans. From ditch cleaner to medieval hero to Roman gladiator, Jamal's story keeps getting crazier. What would you do if you found yourself facing lions in a Colosseum? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more jaw-dropping recaps like this one. See you in the next adventure.